Wonderful. Well, Stan, it looks like we are actually live on Facebook, and that is very exciting to be able to stream live. And Stan, thank you again for joining us today. We're really excited. And for those of you who are watching us live right now on Facebook, welcome. And if you're watching any other time and it's not live, welcome. We always love it when folks are tuning into Our Stories, Our Time. And this is an initiative that was launched by the Nonprofit Partnership just over a year ago. Hi, everyone. I'm Carolina Quesada with the Nonprofit Partnership in this series where we interview nonprofit leaders to understand how organizations are navigating through the challenges of these current times. And today we are continuing on with another interview. Again, the interview today is going to focus on youth services and programs as well, and really excited to have you meet and get to know a little bit more about our guest today. But before I introduce him, the Nonprofit Partnership wishes to thank the Port of Long Beach for their generous support of our series. Again, if you're watching us live on Facebook, please engage with us, leave a comment, say hello to our special guest. You can always do that in the comment box. And with that, I would like to introduce Stan DeWitt, founder and executive director of the Long Beach Youth Chorus. Stan, how wonderful it is to have you here. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation and thanks for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So tell us about Long Beach Youth Chorus. What are you all about and why were you founded?
The Long Beach Youth Chorus was founded in 2017 to be the goal is to be the premier civic and community youth and children's chorus of Long Beach and the region. There are similar choruses for children in Los Angeles, and there's one in South Bay and Torrance, and there's one or two in Orange County. But Long Beach actually happens to be one of the largest cities in the country that does not have its own civic community or youth chorus, children's youth chorus. So
and that's significant, right? Because we're not a small city.
Exactly. Yeah. We think about it, we're the same size as the Kansas City and Atlanta. Granted, those cities have suburbs, and right. We are technically a suburb, but we are the same size as those cities. So we should be doing what we're doing now. So that was right. The goal. It started at Grace First Presbyterian Church, where I'm also the minister of music. And we wanted to do something for the children in the community through our music program. So that's how it kind of started. And we are now entering our 5th season. And this is going to be a big season for us because we're in the middle of a big enrollment push to try to get new singers to join us, which is a challenging thing at this time,
right?
As I'm sure you know. And also, this is going to be the year that we finish up our 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan was to end with us being our own 501c3 by the end of this season, so that next year we'll be stepping out on our own. We're currently underneath a fiscal sponsor at the moment, but we are looking for this for the long haul. And so this year is an important year for us.
Yeah, no, that is very significant, right? Yeah. 5 years, you're still in that young phase of the organizational life cycle, but it is quite significant when you're stepping out on your own without that fiscal sponsor. Stan, going back to the beginnings and just how the organization started and what kicked you all off, was there anything in particular that you were seeing in the community, or were you looking at this as an opportunity to just engage more young people and children, in particularly those who just love music and love singing?
Yeah, I was looking at it as an opportunity to engage children and youth more in music. Long Beach Unified has a very strong music program, and particularly in the high schools. The middle schools, it's kind of hit or miss. Some of the middle schools have choral programs, but there were, last time I checked, there were 7 middle schools in Long Beach that do not have choir programs. And some of the high schools, that have now that they've switched to the magnet programs in the high schools, such as Sato and McBride High Schools, those schools do not have choral programs or music programs. So there is a need, even with the great work that Long Beach Unified music teachers do, for some of that gap filling, if you will, in the community.
Right.
And so we decided that the ultimate goal for this organization is to be a multi-level choral organization that would be, start with elementary school, and the elementary school program would be a kind of an immersion into music and reading music and learning about music, and then go into the first choruses, which would be late elementary school, middle school, and then that would feed into the advanced chorus, which would be high school age. So that's the goal, and that's the model that most children's choirs use. So
Hmm.
we really were looking at this as a multi-level program for all the kids of all the ages in the city.
And to this day today, does it remain so? So you have different age groups that you're engaging through the program?
Well, that's kind of the reason for the push for new enrollments. We started fairly small with I think we had 15 singers our first year, and then we grew. At the end of our second year, we had almost 30, and we were at the point where we were ready to split. And we started grades 6 through 12, and then we expanded to grades 5 through 12 with the idea that we would split at grade 8, so it'd be grades 5 through 8 and then 9 through 12. And we
Hmm.
did that for part of 1 year, but the numbers just weren't kind of supporting that. So we went back to combining them both into one large chorus. And then, of course, with the pandemic year, we saw a significant drop in enrollments, primarily because of the changes that we had to make in terms of programming to be safe. And so, starting this year, we're still at one chorus, grades 5 through 12. However, this year we are doing a new thing. We are starting a young musicians program, which will be that elementary feeder group. So for this year, the group is grades 2 to 4, and that group will meet concurrently with the larger chorus in a different room, but it will be kind of an experiential music learning educational experience for the kids. So they won't be doing as much singing and performing, but they will be learning how to read music. They will be learning rhythms by playing drums and playing handbells. They'll be learning about different music styles and different music composers, and learning the piano keyboard and some of those really fundamental basic
Hmm.
things that
Right.
then they can take when they go into the older groups, hopefully in the next couple of years.
And it sounds like what you're describing, I mean, those are the kinds of skills for like a young musician, for example, to really build such a strong foundation in understanding music, right?
Right.
And understanding the just sort of the constructs of music as well. One of the things I've been curious about is as soon as we found out, hey, we're going to interview Stan, is can you share with us too, like from your perspective, what does being a part of a choir do for kids? There's here you're talking about like even just the expansion of your programs a little bit more to help children understand really a lot of the foundations of music, right? But also just participating in a choir. What does that do for kids? What's some of the things that what are some of those things that you're seeing?
Um, so looking at it as an adult now, and then I'll talk about my perspective from when I first started singing. But I know now that the benefits of singing in a choir, which really expand the entire lifespan. So it doesn't matter whether you're 6 years old or whether you're 60 years old, you get the same benefits from choral singing. So there's the obvious thing about breathing and breath control, and learning how your respiratory features work, and how that affects singing. And of course, right now we're at a time where respiratory health is ever more important than it ever was.
Right.
So that is one way of really kind of maintaining respiratory health. So that's one benefit. Another is just the mental facilities. We hear all the time about how learning music and being involved with music deepens your understanding of the other arts, of mathematics, of so
Mm-hmm.
many other
Mm-hmm.
mental and educational things that, and it's really hard to, you know, pinpoint exactly why that is or what it is, but there's a lot of research on it, and it's definitely something that is true, that
Mm-hmm.
being involved in music on some level deepens your mental understanding of a lot of other things that go way beyond music. And I think the other two things that I would point to, one is um, the the ability for self-expression. And when you're saying something to somebody, when you're telling somebody a story, you have a certain command of their attention when you're saying it. But the moment you start singing it, it sounds different to them, and it triggers something else in the brain, right?
Mhm.
That simultaneously, though, is why singing always feels much more personal and much more like a personal form of expression, more so than just talking with people.
Right.
So singing in a choir enables you to tap into that personal expression and learn how to do that, and learn how to be expressive, and learn how to trust your own uh, creative intent. The fourth thing, and I think this may be the most important, is just simply the camaraderie, the connection you have with other people. When you're singing with them and you're all singing together and it locks in, it feels like you're doing something that's magical that nobody else knows about, right? So, and for kids, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
And that connection is really powerful. It's one of the things that was the most difficult about last season, which we'll talk about later, but is that we had to kind of find ways to work through that because they couldn't be in the same room. And every choir director and every choir in the world in the last year has been struggling with this because it's
Yes.
one of the most important and most meaningful parts of singing in a choir
Right.
is having that connection. For me personally, the first choir that I remember singing in was in middle school. And I remember for the first time as a kid feeling a sense of belonging, feeling a sense of accomplishment,
Hmm.
and I was really doing something, and people liked what I was doing,
Hmm.
and I think from that moment on, I was involved in music, and of course I went into it professionally, but even if I hadn't, music still unlocked that for me, and it still is the key, I think, for a lot of children to be able to unlock those creative and expressive potentials that they have inside themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm listening to your story here, and I'm, kind of remembering back to my own junior high school years, and anything that made you as a kid, during those formative years when just the whole world and you feel extremely awkward,
Yeah, yeah,
how important it is to be a part of something that you're feeling like, oh, this is kind of bigger than I am. I'm part of something big here, something you really identify with. And I think it's great for, parents who are listening that probably don't come from a musical family or background, but, that probably see that potential in their kids, or are thinking, is this maybe a good activity for them to be involved in, even if they don't aren't quite perhaps exhibiting these natural talents, but allowing children and young people to really explore who can they be by way of this medium, right?
choir and I think choir even probably more so than band, but singing tends to be magnetic for those kids that feel like they have no other outlet, that they, maybe they're not athletic, maybe they're just not very big, maybe they feel like they're on the outside of society, they feel like they're on the outside of the cool kids in the school, but there's something about singing together that pulls them together. And I think it's not a secret that choirs tend to be places where those who are marginalized, those kids that are on the outside, and adults too, tend to feel safe, tend to feel
Mm,
comfortable, and feel uh, um, appreciated. And so it does really provide a way for people to grow, whether they're kids or adults.
yeah. No, and thank you for sharing that, because I think sometimes it's something that could be in the back of people's minds and they don't, quite either launch into it themselves to see what could this be like, or again, as a parent watching or anybody taking care of children or a youth can see that this could perhaps be something for them.
Yeah,
And recently in pop culture, there's, I think, been also quite a bit of focus, right? I mean, you've got Glee and just sort of that whole offshoot of young people singing and expressing themselves that way.
yeah,
So it's nice to hear it from you, somebody who's grown up in that and made that choice early on in his life to test this out, to kind of, see what this is all about. And here you are now, working with children and young
mhm,
people, and
mhm,
and just really seeing how they flower and bloom,
yeah.
as a result of this. So, Stan, you touched on this a little before, and now kind of making the shift and talking about the pandemic. I mean, obviously, everybody's been, figuring out what is this new normal look like for us. And so, walk us through a little bit more. What happened to you all, when this broke out and you realized, yikes, we can't do this in person, at least not for a while. And how did you acclimate?
Is there a pandemic going on? I didn't know that actually. Oh,
Just
yes.
a little
Just
something,
a little
yeah.
thing, yeah. Well, we were uh, in March of 2020. We were in rehearsals with our then artistic director, Stephen Clausen, preparing for several fundraising events in the spring for our spring concerts. And we were actually in the process of planning for our first tour. And we had made plans for a weekend tour to San Diego. We were going to do a performance with the San Diego Children's Chorus. Um, and pretty quickly, we realized that we needed to stop everything. We resumed after about a month and a half on Zoom and did the virtual rehearsal thing, and were able to record one virtual choir video that year. And then we found out that our artistic director, Stephen Clausen, was leaving and moving to Oklahoma to take a high school choir directing job. So then we went into the last summer without an artistic director. So it was a big shift and a big challenge, but we ended up hiring Stevie Herner, who is who moved here from Miami, where she was the um, associate director of the South Florida Master Chorale, worked in Miami public schools, worked in Chicago public schools, was very successful in both places, and is starting her doctorate at USC in choral music. So we were really fortunate to have Stevie come on board. And Stevie's been a very positive thing for our organization. Um, she's engaging. She's inspirational to the kids. She's all the parents and kids are really connected to her and love her. So basically, last year we went into the whole season with the idea that we were going to be doing more virtual programming. And so we had a winter gala in January of this year, and then a spring gala, which actually was in June of this year. And in both those instances, we premiered several videos that we had put together, which was really challenging. I did a couple with my church choir as well, and they're beautiful to watch and listen to,
Mm-hmm.
but they're a slog to rehearse the music on Zoom, first of all, and then to put
Yeah,
together. And when kids are in the middle of having to do Zoom schooling and everything else,
right.
it was really tough. But I have to say, I am so proud of our kids, and those videos that they made, particularly in the June concert, were just so powerful. Um,
Do
so
you have those on your website, Stan?
we do have a link on our website to videos,
Great.
and it'll take you to our YouTube page. Yes, um, and that website is longbeachyouthchorus.org. And so then we had a twofold kind of plan after that. One was while we began to make a plan for what the fall would look like, we
Mm-hmm.
decided that since the numbers had dropped significantly, and because our kids had had a whole year of not being in the same place, that we would do as much fun outdoor safe activities as we could for our kids and our families this summer. So this summer was the year of going to the beach and renting bikes at Shoreline Village, and miniature golf tournament, our first miniature golf tournament, which was a blast.
Great.
So um, that's what the summer was focused on. And in the meantime, then we began to start thinking about what the fall is going to look like, which I imagine is probably one of your next questions. So let me just kind of
Yes.
launch into that because
Let's do it.
um, it's kind of key, right?
Right. Right.
So we had moved our rehearsals in the spring. We did do two outdoor rehearsals in the fall, and then we did three more this spring with masks on, outdoors, and we had moved them to St. Matthew's Catholic Church at 7th and Temple, where we had been rehearsing at Grace First Presbyterian, which is up in the kind of the far northeast corner of the city. So the idea was moving to St. Matthews would be a little more central for the entire city,
Hmm.
and they were letting us rehearse outside. So we did some outdoor rehearsals then, and our plan is, if the Delta variant doesn't get worse,
Right.
our plan is to go to indoor singing in a large room with social distancing and with masks on and with as much ventilation as the room will allow. We may even throw a fan up over the kids so the everything's blowing away. And that's the plan at the moment. And if things get worse, then maybe we go back to outside. I do not foresee us going back to Zoom rehearsals unless it's really necessary. I think that the loss of the connection when we do that um, is really debilitating. So we're really going to do
Right.
everything we can to stay in person. First priority would be indoors, and if we have to change something, then we'll probably move to outdoors from there.
Right. Right. No, but I mean, just even listening to how this has developed for you in the last year and a half, been really interesting to see as well that not only have you devoted a lot of thought to how these activities still continue, and it sounds like you kind of tested a range of different things
Yes.
to keep the kids engaged and keep them engaged in these activities, particularly in singing. But there's also something to say about, investing in just making sure that folks are remembering, Long Beach Youth Chorus. I mean, we're still a family and we still do things together, right? And so even like those social events that you were describing, outdoors, going out, planning different events, that's got to be important as well to make sure that not just the kids and youth in your program, but the families are feeling like, hey, we're still connected.
Right.
We may be physically distanced, but there's still a connection, there's still an identity with the organization and just who we are together as well.
Absolutely, and I think that might be one of the differences between what we offer as a music organization versus what the schools offer. Um, the connection within the schools is within the kids and the teacher, right?
Right.
But we really try to expand that to our families as well, and to make sure that everybody feels like that they're part of the organization, not just the kids. And frankly, if we don't have parent uh, buy-in, if we don't have parent connection, then the organization probably fails
Right.
because we have to have their support, we have to have their help with events and
Absolutely.
with various things. So um, it really is kind of a key function of what we do is to make sure that we engage the parents and the families and the siblings too. That
Right. Right.
it's not just enough to have a ninth grader in our chorus, but if she's got a sister that's in the fifth grade, we got to be thinking about what we're going to be offering for the fifth grader when she's ready to join.
Absolutely. And this is why we love having these interviews because there's always something very unique to each organization. And clearly, with you, it's not just about the art form. It's not just about the love of music, the love of singing, and what that does for young people, but there's also quite a bit to be said about this community building, right? And the
Right,
space that families and kids are finding themselves in if
right.
they're lucky enough to engage with the Long Beach Youth Course and be a part of that. So still thinking about these pandemic times, Stan, um, have you experienced any more collaboration or partnership with other organizations? What has that been like for you?
Um, I will say that the when we first started in 2017, the outpouring of support and enthusiasm from the other arts organizations in the city and the nonprofit uh, organizations in the city, such as the nonprofit partnership, Long Beach Symphony, Camarada Singers, Long Beach Chorale, P3 Theater Company, and I can go on and on about the
Yeah,
different organizations that reached out to us, in a supportive fashion, but also in a collaborative fashion. It's like, how can we help? How we do things together? Within the end of our second season, we'd sung with the Long Beach Symphony, we'd sung with Camarada Singers, we'd sung with the Long Beach Chorale, and we were still a really small children's chorus at that point. So that was so moving and really rewarding in the very beginning. the last year and a half, of course, they've been going through the same stuff we have.
Right.
So
Right.
it's really been less about the connections that we've had there. Although we have reached out to them, we've been stayed in connection. Been trying to. Uh, I don't know if it's offer help or if it's commiserate with each other, but we're all kind of in the same boat of like okay, what do we do now?
Mm,
But the foundations and the support again from the nonprofit community, things like Long Beach Gives last year was a huge year for us with Long Beach Gives, and we're looking forward to it again this year. Um, and the Roomba Foundation stepped up and helped us tremendously last year.
great.
Um,
Great to
and
hear.
those kind
Shout
of
out to the Roomba Foundation.
yeah, big shout out to the Roomba Foundation. I am so grateful for their help, and they are fantastic. They're doing amazing things for the arts in the city. Um, but even the California Arts Council, we had our first California Arts Council grant last year, and our first Port of Long Beach sponsorship. So those organizations stepping up to the plate to say, okay, we
Yes.
know you're all hurting. How can we help? And let's get you
Right.
some whatever you need to survive and to get through the other side of this. That I think has been the most um, moving part of this during the pandemic.
Yeah, got it. No, and it's great to hear also from your side of things, how those arts funders, particularly the local ones too, have really continued to make an effort, and they're saying, look, this matters. The arts matters now more than ever. So support. So Stan, as we look at the coming months, looking out the next few months as we're closing off the calendar year, starting off a new year, and you've already given us a little bit of a taste there by mentioning Long Beach Gibbs, but what's on the horizon right now for the organization?
The short term horizon right in front of us is our enrollment for our new season, which starts September 12th.
Okay.
And that will continue beyond September 12th. So if somebody sees this on September 13th and they say, oh, shucks, I missed it. No, you can still join. You can join at any point. We're not at a place where we're insisting that we have to have deadlines and so forth. Um, and then the Long Beach Gives Day on September 23rd, I think, right?
Yes, yes, I
So
believe so.
that's going to be a big push for us because this
That
year,
is a big push, right?
with our new aim for the fiscal or stepping out from underneath our fiscal sponsor by the end of the year, we need to have a real strong showing in that. So those are the two things that are in the short term. In the long term, uh, it's really about trying to find ways to perform again. Um, at least for our kids. We
Hmm.
we do have uh, scheduled concert dates in December. Um, I don't remember off the top of my head what they are, but they are the last weekend before Christmas. So it's probably 17th, 18th, something like that.
Hmm.
Um, and two in the spring as well. And we're always looking for um, opportunities to sing outside of our regular concerts. So, when the Long Beach Symphony calls and they say, "Hey, can you come sing with us?" We're like, "Yes, we'd love to come sing with you." And we've had opportunity to sing with bands like Jolie of the Month Club in the past, and we sang in the studio for a punk rock band, and they recorded us for one of their records. So and then for special events like the Children's Clinic, we did their fundraiser
Right.
before last. So those are the kind of the things that we want to be available to the community. So we're hoping that people will feel comfortable enough, inviting us back, and we can find a way to perform again for folks because that's rehearsing is great. Rehearsing in person is even better,
Right.
but singing for people is the biggest thing that's kind of on the horizon. We want to make it happen again.
Wonderful. It's what it's about too, right?
Yeah.
So, Stan, I was on a call with you not too long ago, and I was just totally impressed with all the things like in the last few seconds you just shared with us, but all the different venues that you and the group have been engaging in, and the different kinds of music that you're a part of, like
Mhm.
this rock or punk band you were describing earlier, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds so cool, and for kids to be a part of this too. So, tell us how to get a hold of you. What's the best way?
You can contact us through our website, longbeachyouthchorus.org. And our email addresses are also Stan at longbeachyouthchorus.org and Stevie at longbeachyouthchorus.org. She's our artistic director. I'm on the administrative side of things, but I can point you in the right direction. We have a new staff member whose name's Ada Villegas, and Ada is going to be the leader of our Young Musicians program. So she's on there as well. But yeah, our website is the easiest way to get hold of us. We also have an Instagram page, Long Beach Youth Chorus, and Facebook, Long Beach Youth Chorus. So any of those ways would be great.
Wonderful. And again, that's longbeachyouthchorus.org, all spelled out. Is that right?
Correct.
Great. And that's Stan, STAN, at Long Beach Youth Chorus. Stevie, is that STEVIE at Long Beach Youth Chorus? Perfect. One of the best ways to get a hold of you, your colleagues, and again, really invite more folks, more families to get involved in what you're doing, the season that's coming up, and even beyond, as you were saying, enrolling for the season. There are things that are happening. And again, anyone who's watching, I mean, please help spread the word. Is there a number as well, Stan, or do you prefer email?
The number, if you want to call a phone number, it's area code 562-972-3324. And that happens to be my cell phone, but it works. 562-972-3324.
Stan gets around town and he knows people and people know him. So before we end the interview, which, of course, I always say time flies when you're having fun. And these are always a load of fun and getting to know more about what you're doing. But any parting thoughts, anything else that you'd like to share?
I guess I would just say that I founded this group because there was an opportunity to do so with the support of Grace First Presbyterian, and but I think the main thing was that I knew, and I still know, the power of music and the power it can have in shaping people's lives of any age. And I love where I live. I love the city. I love the connections and the people, and it felt like it was something that we could really do for this city and for the community and for the people. So, I guess thanks, Long Beach, and let's do what we need to make this organization last for the long haul.
Absolutely, and I could not think of ending on a better note than everything that you've shared and just your continued love, not just for the city and music, but what it does for kids and young people as well. Stan, so grateful for your time today. Look forward to all the wonderful things on the horizon. And thank you again. And everyone, if you're watching, thanks again for watching. Please share the video.
All right. And thank you, Carolyn. Appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.